Banaza was just a merchant in another world, where humans and demi-humans were treated very differently. While working in the royal capital Paluma, he gave Kuro and the other demi-humans money for dinner while they waited during business negotiations. Some humans made fun of him for being nice to demi-humans, but Banaza never understood why race should matter, since he thought everyone should just get along. Before he could continue his normal life, he was suddenly summoned to another world, where he woke up in the magical kingdom of Clyrode and was greeted by a priest as a hero candidate. The kingdom was at war with the Dark Army, so they summoned people from other worlds and tested their abilities. Banaza tried to explain that he was just a merchant, but nobody listened to him. When they checked his stats, the result was terrible, since he had no divine revelation and his abilities were just like a normal person's. People lost interest in him right away. Then another summon guy appeared with crazy high stats, so everyone started treating him as the real hero. King Clyrode declared this golden-haired guy his hero, while Banaza was completely ignored. Banaza just wanted to go home, but the kingdom told him the summoning gate was already closed and could never open again. Since they saw him as a failed hero candidate, they quietly pushed him aside, allowing him to live in Delaveza Forest, but warning him not to tell anyone about the kingdom's mistake. A driver took him to the forest, and Banaza realized this world was nothing like his old one. When he asked if the driver was under a slave contract, the driver explained that humans and demi-humans were not treated like that in Clyrode. Banaza started to think maybe this world wasn't so bad, even though the kingdom itself had treated him badly. After 20 days of travel, Banaza reached Delaveza Forest. The driver gave him a bottomless bag from the king, which had money, clothes, food, tools, weapons, and house-building magic, but also warned him that there were rumors of the Dark Army nearby, so if he wanted to survive, he should run. Banaza had nowhere to go, so he checked his bag and tried to defend himself when slimes attacked. His cheap weapon broke immediately, but after defeating the slimes, he reached level 2, which changed everything. His stats became infinite, and he unlocked a huge list of spells with voice guidance. The voice then revealed that his bag had tracking, monster luring, and forced recovery spells placed on it, so Banaza realized someone was basically pushing him toward death. He removed those spells and decided to find a safer place, but the voice warned him that the forest was contaminated with melicium, a dangerous substance released by demons. Since he had to live there, Banaza agreed to purify the forest. The purification spell released a massive light, and Banaza's level kept rising again and again. In the castle, the king heard that high-level purification was used and assumed the golden-haired hero did it, but then learned it happened far north, where Banaza had been sent. Banaza still didn't get how powerful he had become, since he didn't think his magic was anything special and only wanted to quietly survive. Since he was banned from living in town, the voice guidance suggested shapeshift magic. Banaza changed his appearance so no one could recognize him, took the name Flio, and teleported back to the royal capital. At the Adventurers Guild, Flio registered with his new name and started looking for work. Soon, a young girl asked for someone to escort her to Delaveza Forest because her family lived nearby. Other adventurers refused since the Dark Army was said to be stationed there, but Flio offered to take her. 4 royal knights, Balirosa, Bolano, Bilary, and Blossom, immediately became suspicious, thinking he might be trying to kidnap or exploit the girl, especially when he claimed he could use teleportation. To clear things up, Flio invited them to come along as well. When he teleported all of them straight to Delaveza Forest, the knights were shocked, and Balirosa apologized. Then the girl noticed that the melicium had disappeared from the forest. Before Flio could explain, the voice guidance warned him not to tell any demon that he had used purification. Then Balirosa revealed they had already suspected the girl, and she transformed into Fenrys, a lupine demon and younger sister of Fengariel from the Infernal Four. Fenrys attacked, and the knights were helpless against her. Flio realized he couldn't protect all 4 while running, so he teleported the knights away and stayed behind alone. Fenrys asked if he wanted to become her food, but Flio refused to die in this world without doing anything. With no other option, he prepared to try every spell he had. Flio kept fighting against Fenrys, the lupine demon who was about to kill him. Since Flio had no real battle experience, he decided to try every spell he had, and every single one worked. He jumped away, blocked her attacks, put up walls, and finally used gravity magic to pin her to the ground. The voice guidance kept recommending subjugation magic, which could turn Fenrys into a slave and control her mind and body. But Flio refused every time. He had just come to a new world and didn't want to bring that into his new life. Fenrys kept trying to break free, but every spell she used was cancelled. After losing all her magic, she surrendered and told him to kill her, since a warrior who couldn't fight had no future. Flio refused, saying he didn't care if she was human or demon, and didn't want to kill anyone who had already surrendered. Fenrys was shocked by his thinking. After turning back to her human form, she collapsed from magic depletion, so Flio gave her clothes and healed her while she slept. When she woke up, her magic had recovered, and she realized Flio had helped her instead of taking advantage of her defeat. Because of this, Fenrys swore she would never fight humans again. She decided Flio was her master and offered to serve him for her whole life. Flio rejected the idea of making her a slave, but Fenrys insisted that lupines lived only for the person they accepted as their master. When she said she would rather die than leave him, Flio agreed and let her stay. Flio then told her the truth. He wasn't from this world. He had been summoned as a hero candidate, and the kingdom abandoned him as useless. He showed her his real appearance and explained he changed his form to avoid the people from the castle. Fenrys accepted everything and promised to stay with him. Meanwhile, the golden-haired hero returned to the castle after his army's failed attack. He blamed the soldiers, but the survivors reported that he stayed at the rear, ran away, and blamed everyone else. His level was 91, but his skills still hadn't improved. Instead of fixing the problem, he went out with his servant Suya to spend the castle's money. Flio and Fenrys returned to town to earn money and find a place to stay. A shopkeeper mistook Fenrys for Flio's wife, and Flio thought pretending to be married could help them avoid suspicion. Fenrys took the role seriously and started calling him darling. At the guild, Flio registered her under the fake name Rice before she could reveal her real identity. Soon after, the guild announced an urgent quest because a group of psycho bears was heading toward the city and the reward had been increased. Flio hesitated since even the hero had failed against them, but Fenrys was sure he could defeat them easily. She wanted to fight them herself to prove how strong the man who beat her was. They headed north and used a vacant house as their base. Before starting the hunt, they found Balarosa, Blossom, Baileri, and Bolano struggling while fighting psycho bears. Fenrys thought they should ignore the weak knights, but Flio saved them with whitening magic. The knights were shocked to see him again, while Fenrys got annoyed when Flio introduced her as just his travel companion. Another psycho bear attacked, but after sensing Fenrys' strength, it gave up. Flio decided he couldn't let it keep hurting people, so he restrained it and changed its form into a small pet, naming it Saib, while Balarosa could only wonder what kind of people could not only defeat psycho bears, but also tame them. After that, Balarosa and the others asked Flio to train them, since the hero's army had been destroyed, and the king had ordered the knights to become strong enough to fight psycho bears. Flio was unsure because he barely understood his own power, but Fenrys reminded him that he couldn't abandon people who needed help. The knights also asked if they could stay at the house since camping outside was dangerous. Fenrys immediately agreed and said she could share a bed with Flio since they were married, which completely overwhelmed him. Somewhere far away, the Dark One Gaul learned that the purification spell in Delaveza Forest was cast not by Clyroth's mages, but by a single individual, so he ordered Luminos to find and capture that person at any cost. Flio's quiet married life started with a problem he wasn't ready for. Fenrys woke him up in the same room and thought it was normal since, in her mind, they were now husband and wife. Flio tried to explain that human relationships had steps and needed mental preparation, but Fenrys just saw it as another strange human rule. When Balarosa came in and saw Fenrys helping him change, she immediately got the wrong idea. Training the knights turned out to be harder than Flio expected. Balarosa, Blossom, Baileri, and Bolano all wanted to be strong, but their teamwork was still rough. Bolano ran out of magic quickly. Baileri struggled to move at the right time, and Flio realized teaching them might be harder than fighting monsters. After getting the reward for defeating the psycho bears, Flio got a better room for everyone, so the knights wouldn't have to sleep on the floor. Fenrys tried to celebrate by serving raw mount boar meat, since fresh meat was naturally the best meal for her. Flio explained that humans liked it cooked, and Balarosa helped him prepare dinner. Everyone enjoyed the food, and Fenrys was shocked that he could make meat taste so good. She even tried salad because Flio made it, even though she thought leaves were food for weak animals. Later, Flio and Fenrys brought back so many hunted mount boars that people at the guild started talking about them. Leo Lith from the Adventurers Guild met Flio and said the king wanted him to serve the hero. If Flio agreed, he'd be made an honorary knight. For most people, that would be an incredible offer, but Flio refused. He was from another world and had no reason to fight demons for Clyrode. Fenrys spent her free time learning to cook because she heard food could win a man's heart. A month passed, and the castle kept asking Flio to join, but his answer never changed. Meanwhile, their home life settled into a strange routine. Blossom worked in the field with Saibi. Baileri couldn't bring herself to shoot cute birds during training, and Flio gave Bolano a magic ring to increase her magic capacity. Fenrys immediately warned her not to wear it on her ring finger. Then Fenrys surprised everyone by serving a proper cooked meal. She admitted that at first, cooking just felt annoying, but learning new things started making her even happier than getting stronger did. She gave Flio a curry she made especially for him, and when he liked it, Fenrys was very happy. Their peaceful meal was interrupted when Luminos, the Dark One's attendant, appeared. She recognized Fenrys and couldn't understand why the famous Dark Army warrior was living happily with humans. Fenrys proudly said she was now living with her husband. Illuminous checked Flio's abilities, but her magic couldn't read him at all, even though it worked on the Dark One. Then Flio admitted he was the one who purified Delavisa Forest. Illuminous realized he was the person who wiped out Fenrys' brother, Fenrys, and his forces. Flio was shaken, but Fenrys had already suspected the truth. She said her brother was a lupine warrior and one of the Infernal Four, so he would never want pity for his death. She chose Flio because his power charmed her, and nothing could change her feelings. The knights overheard everything and realized Rice was actually Fenrys. Illuminous then challenged Flio to a mock battle, but secretly planned to kill him in Fenrys. Flio quickly defeated her by canceling her spells and binding her before she could target Fenrys. Illuminous surrendered. Flio apologized for hiding it and said they could report them to the castle if they wanted. Fenrys declared she had left the Dark Army and sworn loyalty to her husband. Balarosa and the others decided not to report her since she had shown no ill will and had helped them for the past month. Illuminous later returned with the Dark Army's elite legion of dragons. Flio was amazed since he had never seen real dragons before. Illuminous attacked, but Flio used Divine Hammer to wipe out the dragons instantly. Blossom wished she could earn the Dragon Slayer title, so Flio enchanted one of her farm tools and let her hit a fleeing dragon. She got the title, which made the other knights jealous. Gaul realized Flio was no ordinary adventurer and started preparing his next move. After Illuminous' attack, Flio set up a barrier around the house so they would know if any demon came inside. Fenrys was still angry at Illuminous, but Flio couldn't stop thinking that he might have killed Fenrys' brother. Fenrys noticed something was bothering him, but he kept it to himself. Meanwhile, Blossom was still proud of getting the Dragon Slayer title, and Bolano kept calling her Ho, the legendary weapon that took a dragon's head. Balarosa acted serious and went out to train alone, but the real reason was jealousy. She wanted the Dragon Slayer title too, since such a big title could restore her fallen noble family status. During her training, Balarosa met a lightly equipped man in the forest. He said he was looking for an old friend, and Balarosa quickly realized he meant Fenrys. Since this pointed to the Dark Army, she drew her sword and asked what he wanted. The man said he just came to check on Fenrys and introduced himself as Gozal before leaving. After the barrier reacted, Flio and Fenrys arrived, and Fenrys immediately realized the name was fake. Flio explained that the man's status showed him as the Dark One, and Fenrys said his real name was Gaul. Balarosa broke down, thinking she had just threatened the king of the demons. The next day, Gaul actually visited the house. Flio calmly welcomed him, which shocked Gaul. Because of bad luck, Balarosa got dragged into the meeting and ended up sitting right next to the Demon King. Gaul then asked Flio to join the Dark Army. Flio refused, and Gaul asked why he was hiding here instead of serving King Clyrode, since the king clearly wanted his power. Flio explained that he didn't think being human meant he had to take the human side. He wasn't from this world, and no one had even told him why humans and demons were fighting in the first place. Gaul said the war had been going on for 500 years, starting with the first Dark One, who also came from another world and was accepted by demons who were suffering under humans. But after so many generations, the original reason hardly mattered anymore. Gaul admitted he had no interest in ruling the world, but as king of the demons, he couldn't let someone as dangerous as Flio fall into the humans' hands. Still, Flio refused to choose a side. Gaul accepted that answer for now, but said he hadn't given up yet. He also started showing strange interest in Balarosa, which made her life even more stressful. After that, Gaul kept visiting, and Balarosa tried to avoid him every time. Meanwhile, spies reported to King Clyrode that a demon was visiting Flio's house and then disappearing into demon territory. The first princess suggested talking to Flio instead of attacking him, but the king refused to listen. Then the golden-haired hero arrived and demanded soldiers, saying that if Flio wouldn't join willingly, they should force him to obey. At home, Flio worked on selling gear made from dragon scales so everyone could cover their expenses. Fenrys asked if he chose not to fight the Dark Army because of her, but Flio said that wasn't the reason. Now that he knew how strong he was, he just didn't want to fight anyone unless it was necessary. Fenrys told him that was exactly what kindness was. Soon, the golden-haired hero arrived with soldiers and accused Flio of having contact with the Dark Army. He gave Flio two choices: become his subordinate and help defeat the Dark One, or be killed as a traitor. Flio refused both options. Balarosa, Blossom, and Bilary defended him, but the hero threatened them too and ordered them to help convince Flio. Flio realized that staying there would only create trouble for everyone. Instead of fighting, he decided to leave. Balarosa and the others also asked to go with him, since living with Flio and Fenrys had made them question whether fighting demons was really right. Flio agreed and used teleportation on the whole house. the fields, and everyone with him. The soldiers were stunned when the entire place disappeared. Gaul arrived right after and realized Flio had escaped because of the hero. When the soldiers tried to capture him, Gaul got angry and ordered the Dark Army to launch an all-out attack on Clyrode. The hero panicked and retreated. Flio's group landed far from the royal capital, near Huftau. The house and fields arrived safely, and everyone was relieved that neither the hero nor Gaul could easily find them now. Fenrys told Flio she was happy anywhere, as long as she was with him, and then decided to celebrate their new home with dinner. At the northern stronghold, Clyrode's defenses began to collapse in front of the Dark Army's raid. The king asked what the hero was doing, but the hero had locked himself inside the southern stronghold again. With no help coming, the ministers pressured the king to use purification. This spell was dangerous because it drained the kingdom's mages, but if the stronghold fell, Clyrode could lose the war. Gaul had already expected this. When Granuel confirmed their preparations were ready, Gaul ordered the Dark Army to withdraw before purification could reach them. Willimenes wanted to keep attacking, but Gaul refused to waste his forces. Soon, Clyrode's mages cast the spell, and the Dark Army retreated from the purified land. Meanwhile, Flio's group tried to settle into their new home near Huftau. Flio returned from town, where he was looking for shops that could buy his armor, while Fenrys waited at the door and offered him food, a bath, or grooming. At dinner, Blossom said she wanted to sell vegetables from the farm, and Baileri planned to raise horses for cart rentals. Balarasa and Bolano felt useless because they had no income, but Flio told them to focus on training while everyone divided the housework. Fenrys also declared that taking care of the pack was the duty of the pack leader's wife. In Clyrode, purification had bought the kingdom about 3 months, but many of the mages were now unconscious, including the king. Until he woke up, the first princess took over royal duties. Her first decision was to remove the golden-haired hero from his position, since he hid instead of helping during the kingdom's crisis. After being kicked out, the hero became furious, but Surya still followed him because he had no intention of giving up the position. That night, Flio thanked Fenrys for everything she had done since they started living together. He admitted that when he was sent to this world alone, he had no idea what to do, but now he had work, a home, and peace because she was with him. The next day, the others pushed Flio and Fenrys to go on a date, saying they would handle the housework. Flio and Fenrys spent the day in town. After eating together, Flio offered to buy Fenrys anything she wanted because she always helped him. Fenrys got emotional since she had never received a present before. In one shop, she found a brooch made from a genuine stone that matched her hair. Flio bought it for her and accidentally said she looked beautiful, then corrected himself by saying the brooch suited her. Fenrys was very happy, and when they returned home, the other girls got jealous seeing how happy she was. While Flio's peaceful life continued, the golden-haired hero searched the underground treasury for something that could give him power. A voice from a sealed sword called out to him and promised to grant any wish if he set it free. Ignoring Suya's confusion, he drew the sword and released Haya, a djinn of light and darkness. Haya offered him 3 wishes, and his first wish was to kill Flio. At the castle, the first princess asked the oracle Ashura for guidance. Before Ashura could answer, magical collars appeared on the necks of the nobles in the room. Ashura identified them as the collar of sacrifice, a mark Haya used to take lives in exchange for granting wishes. The princess explained that long ago, a king of Clyrode used this djinn against the Dark One, and half of all living things on the continent paid the price. Then Ashura gave her prophecy. They must find the true hero, who had already been summoned and was somewhere in the west. Everyone realized this probably meant Flio, and the princess decided to go herself. Unaware of all this, Flio successfully sold a dragon-scale shield in town and secured a business route for future goods. Fenrys was proud of him, but also worried that his work would take away from their time together. Flio promised they would still go hunting and visit town together. That peace ended when Flio's system warned him that a djinn was approaching. Haya appeared and announced that the hero's wish would now be granted. Flio's auto defense blocked the first attack, but Fenrys was injured. Flio tried to heal her, but the spell couldn't handle the wound. Then Haya used Origin of Light, but Flio remained unharmed and gained the same Origin magic. Seeing Fenrys hurt, Flio truly became angry and swore Haya would pay for it. After Haya's attack, Flio thought about everything Fenrys had given him since he was thrown alone into this world. She accepted him, stayed with him, became his wife in name, and still loved him, even after learning Flio had wiped out her brother Fengaril. That's why Flio believed protecting her was the role he was given in this new life. But now Fenrys had fallen right in front of him. Flio's anger finally exploded. His system announced he had acquired Origin of Light and Darkness magic, and then he used time manipulation to rewind Fenrys' time and erase her injury. Haya couldn't understand how a human could use magic that turned back time. When she attacked with Origin of Darkness, Flio cancelled it and overwhelmed her. Haya realized his skills were infinite, so defensive magic didn't matter against him anymore. Fenrys woke up without any injury, but saw Flio mercilessly beating Haya. Haya begged for forgiveness, but Flio refused because Haya had killed Fenrys. Before he could finish her, Fenrys stopped him. She told him she was happy to see his rage for her, but she didn't want Flio to lose the kindness that made him spare her when she surrendered. Her words reached Flio, and when he saw she was alive and warm, he finally calmed down and held her with relief. Meanwhile, the princess continued searching for the true hero. Since so few mages had recovered their magic, she had to depend on asking people instead of teleporting from town to town. Then the caller of sacrifice suddenly vanished, making her suspect Haya had failed to grant the wish. At the same time, soldiers surrounded the golden-haired hero and Suya. Suya panicked, saying they'd be executed if caught. The hero cursed Haya for failing, but then another threat appeared. Damalinas, Grand Magus of Midnight, took control of Suya's body and thanked the hero for freeing Haya, since that allowed Damalinas to escape as well. She gave him power in place of Haya, transformed him into a beast, and then went out to punish the nobles and royals who had sealed her away, including their descendants and successors. After the fight, Flio healed Haya since, in the end, Fenrys survived. He had already seen Haya's memories and learned why they were attacked. Since sending Haya back to the castle could let the same mistake happen again, Fenrys suggested keeping her as a servant under Flio's watch. Fenrys admitted it still frustrated her, but she accepted that her own weakness let Haya hurt her. Then Flio offered Haya forgiveness if she promised never to take another life. Haya was surprised by Flio's ability to let go of hatred. She accepted his hand and swore her body and power to him. When Flio apologized for taking things too far, Haya started acting strangely excited by the memory of his anger, which made Fenrys immediately suspicious. Then Flio tried to repair the damage from the battle, but Haya warned him not to use time magic again. She explained that time manipulation controls time only for individuals within a certain range, and if used carelessly, the difference between those targets and the outside world could cause accidents. She also explained why Flio could use her magic. Because his skills were infinite, he had Epiphany, a power that let him gain any spell used on him and any related spells. Flio agreed not to use time magic again and fixed the area with repair. Back at home, Haya introduced herself as Flio's new servant. Blossom and Baileri were shocked that he brought a djinn home, while Balana wondered if djinns even really existed. Balarosa accepted her since Flio was there, then showed Haya to her room. Later, Flio apologized to Balarosa for scaring her with his power. Balarosa admitted she was confused now, since the people she once thought were enemies were not simply enemies, and those she trusted were not always allies. Still, she thanked Flio and Fenrys for making her question things she used to accept without thinking. That night, Fenrys became quiet and asked if Flio could now use djinn magic to return to his original world. She begged him to take her with him if he ever left, because she didn't want to be left behind. Flio told her he wasn't going back. His old world would be hard for Fenrys, and now he couldn't even think of leaving her. Then Flio asked Fenrys to become his real wife. He admitted that, when he thought he lost her, he was terrified and couldn't control himself. Fenrys told him their marriage was never just a name for her, because she had been his wife from the start. The moment became serious and honest, until Haya revealed she had been watching them since they sat on the bed. Flio immediately banned her from invading their privacy, but Haya just offered to watch while invisible next time, which both Flio and Fenrys rejected together. Princess Elizabeth kept searching for Flio, but every lead turned out to be useless. While she was questioning people in town, Flio's home had become peaceful again. Fenrys served breakfast with Haya's help, but didn't let Haya use magic for cooking, since feeding Flio's household was her job as his wife. Haya accepted cleaning and laundry, which made Balarosa, Blossom, Baleri, and Balano panic, since those chores were their way to prove they weren't freeloaders. The girls started thinking separately about what they could do for the household. Blossom refused to believe even a djinn could beat her at farming. Baleri wanted to help by doing carriage work, but she still struggled just to handle the horses. Balana remembered that before becoming a castle mage, she had left the knights, but since Flio patiently taught her magic, she decided she wanted to learn more spells instead of wasting his effort. Their quiet routine broke when a horse-type magic beast started rampaging near the fields. Balirosa admitted she brought it home because it seemed calm and she couldn't kill it. When the beast went wild, Baileri used Saive's horned rabbit form to calm it down. Everyone realized Baileri was still talented at handling horses, even magic beasts, which gave her a new idea. If they could buy more land, she could raise horse magic beasts there, while Blossom could also expand her farmland. Later, Flio and Fenrys went to town to sell equipment. Fenrys saw the trip as a date, while Flio insisted they were just doing business. At the arms shop, Flio showed gear made from salamander skin, and the owner suggested decorating it with magic gems. items. Flio became interested in a rare lightstone, while Fenrys quietly enjoyed watching him focus on his work. Their peaceful outing was interrupted when a monster appeared above the town. After sensing evil energy, Haya arrived and explained the monster was actually a human, transformed by Damalinas the Avercot, Grand Magus of Midnight. Damalinas was once a powerful mage of Clyrode who used dark magic, died after being defeated by a past hero, and was sealed near Haya's sword. Since Haya's seal was broken, she returned as well. Flio let Haya handle the fight, but told her saving the townspeople was the first priority. Damalinas went after Princess Elizabeth, but Haya blocked her attacks. Since Haya was a djinn, the magic of this world didn't affect her. Damalinas tried dark magic, direct attacks, and even a giant form, but Flio stepped in and canceled a dangerous spell before it could destroy the town. Then Haya separated Damalinas from the body of the woman she was possessing and sealed her inside her own mental scape, planning to discipline her and make her powers useful for Flio. After the threat was over, the princess finally recognized Flio. She thanked him for saving the kingdom and apologized for the disrespect from the king and the previous hero. Then she asked him to come to the castle as the kingdom's true hero. Flio refused. He said that role should go to someone who could use their power for humanity without hesitation, and that wasn't him. He only wanted a peaceful life with Fenrys. Back at home, Bilary and Blossom asked Flio about expanding the property. They wanted to buy land themselves, but the price was far above their savings. Flio offered to pay and said they could give him 30% of their profits as rent. This compromise satisfied them, and they put more energy into the work than they ever did in combat training. Blossom refused to rely completely on magic for farming, but Bolano wanted to see what Haya could do. Bolano also revealed she had applied to Huftau College of Magic, and was accepted not just as a student, but also as a teacher. The spells Flio taught her could help people with low magic, and she realized magic could be useful in everyday life too. Flio suggested testing magical farming on one section of the field, and Blossom agreed as long as the crops met her standards. That evening, Flio was impressed that everyone had found something they wanted to do. He admitted he had a goal too, to open his own shop in this world. Fenrys immediately supported him and even offered to ask her demon friends to visit in human form. Then Flio gave her a ring made from lightstone that he found in town and showed her its pair. He told her it was a wedding ring, and Fenrys was so happy she could barely speak. Meanwhile, the golden-haired hero was locked up and panicking about what had happened. Suya warned him that if they couldn't escape, they would be executed, but the fallen hero still refused to accept his glorious story had reached this point. Balarosa's day started with a nightmare where she somehow became Gaul's bride. The Dark Army was celebrating, and Gaul offered to conquer the world in honor of their marriage. Balarosa didn't want any of it, but Gaul kept acting romantic until she woke up in a panic. The worst part was, she couldn't understand why she kept dreaming about the Dark One. Later, Fenrys noticed Balarosa looked pale and said that, for lupines, dreams could show a person's desires. If someone had an unrequited crush, that person could appear in nightmares. Balarosa rejected the idea, but Blossom, Bilary, and Bolano immediately suspected Gaul, since he used to visit their house often. Balarosa insisted he only came for Flio, while the others pointed out Gaul always left quickly when she wasn't there. The teasing then shifted to Fenrys and Flio when the others asked how Fenrys fell in love with Flio. Fenrys said Flio was kind, but what attracted her was his soft side. At first, she was drawn to his openings and wanted to help him. Over time, she realized she liked being soft herself when she was with Flio. In the middle of this embarrassing moment, Flio came in and said something had gotten past the barrier around the city, even though it wasn't broken. Haya also sensed demon power, so they decided to keep an eye on the city for a while. Meanwhile, the princess learned that most of the gold coins Flio donated to rebuild the city were road gold coins, which were issued by the castle. Ordinary people didn't use these coins, and a minister realized these were the same coins recently given to Benaza, the man who was accidentally summoned from another world and banished to Delavisa Forest. The princess realized Benaza and Flio were probably the same person. That meant the kingdom threw away the real hero, treated him badly, and then asked him for help. She decided they needed to apologize and earn his forgiveness first. Then another problem came up. The former golden-haired hero and Suya had escaped from the dungeon. The golden-haired hero ran through the forest with Suya and still refused to believe he was a criminal. Suya reminded him they had escaped from prison and stolen a bottomless bag, but he claimed the bag was just the payment he deserved. There was no money inside, only a water pouch and a treasure chest. Inside the chest was the drill dozer shovel, which could dig a huge hole instantly. It let them hide from soldiers, but now they were stuck underground with no clear way out. Meanwhile, Gaul still made finding Flio his top priority. Illuminos suggested using magic beasts to contaminate the purified land with Melicium and open a path for the army, but Gaul refused since Flio could just purify the land himself. He also refused to sacrifice many of his comrades for conquest. His brother Uligard saw this as weakness this. Uigard declared Gaul had gone senile and decided to take the Dark One's throne for himself. Later, Flio and Fenrys went shopping in town and saw Holdy closing his general store. Holdy explained that the recent war had destroyed the workshop he depended on, and his transport routes were also ruined. Fenrys realized the war was damaging lives even far from the battlefield, while Flio noticed other people were still opening new stores and trying to move forward. Then Balarasa found them and offered to treat them to lunch because her adventurer rank had gone up thanks to their training. Fenrys' romantic lunch with Flio was ruined, but she accepted it. Then Haya sensed a powerful presence. It turned out to be Gaul, who came because his intelligence core detected strange magic. He greeted Flio and tried to talk to Balarasa, making her even more scared her dreams might be prophetic. During lunch, Gaul showed real interest in human food and culture. Balarasa got angry when he admitted he was also observing humans while trying to recruit Flio. Gaul explained that both humans and demons were guilty of trampling on lives. Flio then learned a deeper problem between the two races. Haya explained that demons and magic beasts carried malicium, and those who couldn't control it released small amounts that could contaminate land and harm humans. Flio realized the wall between humans and demons was much harder to break than he thought. After Gaul left, this truth weighed heavily on him, and he quietly held Fenrys close. Meanwhile, the golden-haired hero and Suya tried to climb out of the hole they made, but their escape still didn't seem stable at all. At home, Flio's group enjoyed Fenrys' new Hamburg steaks, and everyone praised her improved cooking. Fenrys said Mileno taught her a family dish popular with children, so the girls started teasing Flio and Fenrys about their future. The meal was interrupted when First Princess Elizabeth arrived and called Flio by his old name, Banaza. She asked to speak privately, but Fenrys refused to leave Flio alone with anyone from the kingdom that abandoned him. Flio only allowed the meeting if Rhys stayed with him. Elizabeth apologized for everything Clero did to him, especially the spells placed on the bottomless bag and banishing him to Delavisa Forest. Flio said he was no longer Banaza, just Flio, a simple merchant. He also realized the princess didn't come just to apologize, so Elizabeth revealed her request. She gave him a magic map showing Clerode's true positions. Purification around the castle was about to end, and the exhausted mages hadn't recovered yet. Since the army couldn't protect every town, Elizabeth asked Flio to guard the exposed areas. Fenrys got angry because the kingdom wanted to involve Flio in the war after treating him badly, but Elizabeth had another reason. The king would wake up soon, and since Flio had ties to demons, he might send soldiers after him. As long as Elizabeth had authority, she planned to force the king to abdicate for insulting the true hero and choosing a false one. She wanted the throne so she could protect all citizens. Flio understood her hidden goal. Elizabeth wanted proof he wouldn't join the Dark One's side. By sending him to protect towns away from the main war, she got him to stay there and lay low, and showed trust by giving him military secrets. She said this trust was proof of the trust she was placing in him. Meanwhile, the golden-haired hero and Suya kept running after escaping the dungeon. Suya stayed with him despite his mistakes, but their escape ended when Fufeng captured them as sacrifices. Later, Fenrys found Flio thinking about Elizabeth's request. He hated fighting, but he couldn't ignore the towns that might be attacked. If he and Fenrys ever had a child, he wanted that child to live happily with both human and demon children. To make that possible, he had to start changing the world now. Fenrys promised to help him however she could. Soon, a unit of the Dark Army approached one of the unguarded towns. Flio and Fenrys stood in their way as guards. Flio refused to take any reward, since taking money would make it look like he was siding with humans for profit. Fenrys misunderstood his wording and got scared he might marry the princess, but Flio denied it right away. The demons couldn't break the barrier, so a Cyclops serving Uigard stepped forward. He insulted Fenrys, her lupine race, and her fallen brother Fengarel. Fenrys told Flio to let her handle it. She accepted her brother was defeated, but wouldn't let anyone mock all lupines because of it. Fenrys fought the Cyclops but didn't kill him. She avoided his heavy swings, opened a wound, swapped their positions, and pinned him with gravity. When the other demons tried to join the fight, Flio stopped all of them at once. He healed the Cyclops and told the army to withdraw. He said he was just a human who became friends with a demon, and he would rather be their friend too. If they refused, he would keep facing them until they gave up. After the army left, Fenrys praised Flio's practiced intimidating stance, but she still thought they should have broken the enemy's will more harshly. Flio believed that would only deepen the hatred between humans and demons. When the townspeople thanked him, some were scared of the silver wolf with him, but Flio introduced Fenrys as his partner and said First Princess Elizabeth sent him. Soon, reports reached the castle that a masked adventurer was saving towns with a silver wolf and leaving without taking any reward. Since he always gave credit to the first princess, letters of gratitude started coming in. Elizabeth realized Flio had accepted her request, and the minister ordered Clyrode's forces to support him whenever he appeared. At the same time, Gaul learned that Uigard had occupied the throne room and started an insurrection. Fufun prepared the rite of super hybridization, using the captured golden-haired hero and Suya as sacrifices. Uigard waited for Gaul, sure he would defeat his brother and claim the Dark One's throne. Gaul and Euliminus came to Flio's house with a strange request. Gaul asked if he could stay there for a while without paying rent. Flio and Fenrys were shocked, so Gaul explained what happened after Uigard's rebellion started. In the Dark Army's throne room, Euliminus tried to stop things before the duel began, but several officers had already agreed to be witnesses. They believed Gaul had changed too much because he kept visiting a human town, refused to restart the army's advance, and seemed less interested in conquering humans. Even Sleep, who still saw Gaul as the only true Dark One, thought Gaul should show his power to end the unrest. Fufun prepared everything for Uigard's challenge and made it clear no one was allowed to interfere. Euliminus still tried to arrest the rebels, but Uigard struck her down and called her weak. Gaul arrived soon after and told Graniel to protect Euliminus, but refused to start a pointless fight with his younger brother. Uigard challenged Gaul for the throne, claiming the army had lost faith in him. Uigard criticized Gaul's visits to a human town, and Fufun added that his withdrawal from battle and refusal to conquer Clyrode had created distrust in the army. Gaul asked if Uigard was the one who sent troops toward Clyrode without permission, and when he understood the situation, he made his decision. Instead of dueling, he took off the demon ring and gave up the throne. Uigard became furious because he wanted to defeat Gaul properly, but Gaul had no reason to keep a title his own army didn't support. Before leaving, Gaul punched Uigard for hurting Euliminus, apologized to the others for causing trouble, and walked out. In the confusion, the golden-haired hero and Suya also managed to escape. After hearing the story, Flio realized Gaul had nowhere to go, but still wanted to ask the others first. At that moment, Balarosa returned from hunting and froze when she saw Gaul and Euliminus inside the house. Flio explained he was thinking of letting them stay. Gaul said he was no longer the Dark One, had left the army, and couldn't live in demon territory after abandoning his duty. Since Flio was the only human friend he could turn to, Gaul asked for help as a friend. Everyone else was nervous, but slowly accepted him. Euliminus also explained that her intelligence corps had left the Dark Army, and Gaul gave them all his money as a reward for their service. She complained that his kindness was the reason the demons rebelled, but Gaul believed he could still do useful things even without being the Dark One. Since Flio and Fenrys agreed, the group accepted him too. Only Balarasa strongly resisted, but when even Sibe seemed fine with him, she gave in. Gaul tried to help around the property, but most of his help just made everyone uncomfortable. Blossom refused to let him touch the farm, since she already had Haya. Larry didn't want him interfering with the magic beasts. Later, Flio showed him the gear he made for adventurers, including armor strengthened with dragon scales. Gaul was impressed and noticed how useful the gear could be, though Flio said it was for individuals, not armies. Euliminus saw Gaul enjoying himself and admitted she didn't know what to feel, since he seemed more alive now than when he was leading the demons. Fenrys said Gaul wasn't the Dark One anymore, so she didn't see the problem. That night, Flio and Fenrys talked to Balarosa because they knew she was troubled. Balarosa admitted she wanted to stay with everyone, but felt useless and couldn't accept Gaul so easily. She knew he wasn't evil, but within the Night Order, she had seen people cry over wounded soldiers and dead comrades. Even if Gaul gave up the throne, she couldn't just laugh under the same roof with him. Flio explained that respecting others didn't mean forcing yourself to become their friend. It meant accepting that they had their own ways of living. Fenrys also reminded Balarosa she wasn't useless, since she taught Fenrys how to make sweets. That helped Balarosa calm down. The next day, Balarosa accepted letting Gaul and Euliminus stay in the house, but warned them she would keep a close eye on them. If they harmed any humans, she would make them regret it. Gaul accepted her condition with gratitude, while Euliminus and Balarosa immediately started arguing. Their new life began with tension, but at least Balarosa wasn't running away anymore. Meanwhile, the golden-haired hero and Suya kept running with stolen jewels and magic gems from the demon's treasury. He planned to sell them and escape from Clyrode, while Suya reminded him they were still wanted criminals. Uigard was furious because the Dark Army kept losing to the humans. Fufun reported that every route for the army was now trapped, so the troops couldn't even reach Clyrode. Uigard couldn't understand why simple traps were stopping them now, and ordered Fufun to come up with a way to gather a large army. The other officers quietly saw the real problem. Gaul always advanced after careful research, but Euliminus and the intelligence corps were gone, morale was dropping, and Uigard only knew how to charge forward. Fufun's answer wasn't a battle plan. She decided to hold a social gathering to raise morale. Gaul. Meanwhile, Fenrys won first prize and thought she'd earned a private hot spring trip with Flio. Her excitement dropped when the prize turned out to be group lodging, which was for 3 or more people and could hold up to 15. She tried to exchange it, but Flio stopped her. Soon, the whole household went to Kinosaki Hot Springs Village, and Flio saw the trip as a chance to get closer to Gaul and Illuminus. Fenrys was still upset about losing her private trip, but her mood changed when she learned one of the 7 baths was linked to fertility. She asked where that bath was, making Flio nervous. The group checked in and got yukata, but the trip immediately became risky. Dark Army officers were also at the same resort in human disguises. Fufun brought Uigard and the others there for the morale event, and everyone had to wear necklaces that suppressed their milicium. Fenrys warned Gaul and Euliminaz not to let the Dark Army notice them. Gaul didn't see any reason to hide, but Fenrys said anyone who ruined her hot spring trip with Flio would be punished. Once everyone reached their rooms, the group split up. Fenrys dragged Flio toward the Yanagi bath and didn't let Haya follow. Meanwhile, Haya started thinking about human reproduction and asked Demolinas for help inside her mental scape. Demolinas rejected the idea so harshly that Haya got chased out of her own inner world. Flio and Fenrys were separated by the wall between the men's and women's baths. For the first time in a while, Flio relaxed and suggested they should just plan a real honeymoon for the two of them. Fenrys happily agreed, but kept trying to make the bath romantic until Flio got embarrassed and left. Elsewhere, Blossom and Baleno started drinking during the day, while Balarosa kept a close eye on Gaul. Blossom teased her about being interested in Gaul, but Balarosa insisted she was just washing him. Gaul complimented Balarosa's yukata, and Euliminus immediately scolded him for staring too much. At the Dark Army gathering, Uigard complained about human food, while several officers were clearly enjoying it. He demanded entertainment, but Fufun's dance didn't satisfy him, and 2 demons turned their performance into a fight. The golden-haired hero and Suya, who had just escaped demon territory with stolen treasure, got caught up in the chaos again. Suya realized the people around them were demons, and their bad luck continued. During the commotion, Balarosa talked with Illuminus and realized how much she wanted Gaul to become the Dark One again. Illuminus said Gaul had both the power and care to lead demons, and he shouldn't fade away pretending to be an ordinary human. Balarosa noticed Illuminus's anger was mixed with affection, which made Illuminus panic. Then the inn began falling apart as a huge mass of milicium appeared. Flio stopped the building from collapsing, but couldn't check inside while holding it, so he sent Fenrys to investigate. Illuminus recognized the cause, a magic gem that absorbed and amplified milicium. She also revealed Uigard and his aides were somewhere in the resort, so this disaster was probably connected to them. Balarosa, Blossom, and Balano decided to help evacuate the guests. Gaul and Euliminus told them to run, but Balarosa refused to leave everything to Flio. She said they stayed with Flio because they wanted to be useful to him, not because they expected him to carry every burden alone. Her words changed Gaul's mind. Even if helping humans made him a failure as a demon, he chose to protect his holiday with his friends. Fenrys arrived, furious that someone ruined her hot spring time. Then Uigard saw Gaul, stepped forward, and turned the whole disaster into a chance for a fight. Balarosa saw danger in the hot spring village and ran to warn Flio, while Blossom and Balano helped evacuate the people in the village. She told Flio that a monster was rampaging and Uigard was there with his aides, disguised as resort guests. She worried Gaul might be involved, but Flio immediately rejected that idea. He trusted Gaul, so he focused on protecting the building. At the center of the chaos, Gaul faced Uigard. Uigard could manipulate milicium, and Euliminus wanted the humans moved away from the magic gem. Fenrys handled that part since she was furious someone ruined her trip with Flio. She got the humans to safety. Gaul refused to harm humans and left the other demons to Euliminus. Uigard had no interest in stopping. He believed demons should eat, drink, and rampage according to their nature. Gaul told him a ruler should pay attention to his surroundings, but Uigard just attacked harder. Uigard noticed Gaul's defensive magic could return attacks but couldn't stop all the damage, so he kept hitting him and said Gaul had become weak because of his pacifism. Finally, Gaul used a spell he hoped he'd never need again. He sealed Uigard's milicium, cutting off his demonic strength and making him almost like a human. Uigard went into a rage when he realized the spell came from research humans once tried to complete. Gaul explained that the previous Dark One pushed humans too far, and forcing enemies to submit by force would eventually destroy the demons themselves. Before Uigard could continue, the inn staff activated emergency magic woven into their yukata and bound him. The hostess threw him out for disturbing the other guests, and Uigard could only swear revenge. Fenrys then removed the milicium the golden-haired hero couldn't get rid of himself. After After the threat was over, Flio repaired the damaged inn. The hostess was shocked they could reopen so quickly and thanked everyone. Fenrys was relieved because now she could finally enjoy the Yanagi bath with Flio. The group relaxed in the hot springs. In the men's bath, Flio and Gaul talked honestly. Gaul said he'd been interested in Flio since their first meeting because Flio stayed calm in front of power and used his strength to look for peace between humans and demons. He believed they could build a new relationship between the two races. Flio said magic alone couldn't end fighting, so he wanted to rely on his companions. Gaul offered to help by becoming one of them. During dinner, Barbarossa thanked Gaul for protecting humans. Gaul said he was just keeping his promise to her, which made Uliminas jealous. Later, when everyone else was asleep, Flio and Fenrys finally got a quiet moment. Flio asked how she felt about humans now. Fenrys admitted humans looked weaker than lupines at a glance, but after living with everyone, she no longer saw humans as enemies. Flio told her that if the war between humans and demons got worse, he wanted to guard the town so fewer people would get hurt. He asked Fenrys to stay with him and stop him if he ever went too far or took the human side too much. Fenrys agreed because she was his wife and because they had to create a safe world for their child. After the trip, everyone returned home and settled into daily life. Balano started teaching magic, Blossom grew vegetables with magical help, Larry prepared to take them to town, and Gaul began making armor and weapons. Even Barbarossa admitted the armor Gaul made was useful for her hunting. Since Uagod's powers were sealed for now, Gaul believed there would be peace for a while. In Clyrode, the princess was crowned queen princess. Her father was still missing, but she refused to waste the chance Flio gave her and decided to rebuild the kingdom. Meanwhile, the golden-haired hero and Suya were still running from soldiers, and he kept insisting his day as a hero would come. That evening, Flio remembered how he came to this world alone. Now he had friends, family, and a growing dream. He talked with Fenrys about opening a shop one day, where they'd sell her sweets, cakes Barbarossa helped make, and boxed lunches using Blossom's vegetables. Their simple dream was growing, and for now, that future was enough for Flio.